All right, guys, so I'm back with the fourth breakout video, and I'm going to start off by saying I made a mistake on the last one. When we added the behaviors to the ball, we actually do not want to give that solid. Something really bad happens if that's solid. Basically, when the ball would bounce off the paddle, because it's solid, it actually pushes the paddle down, and we don't want that. So we're going to take solid off the ball. So just make sure you do that right away. So to remove a behavior, just click on behaviors here on the side and then just highlight the one you want to get rid of, and you can just press delete on your keyboard. Okay, so we have that gone. Now we should be good to go. So now the rest of our behaviors should be good. And now what we are going to do is we're actually going to give events. So now we have basic behaviors. So if I run this, the ball is just going to fly to the right. Paddle can move left and right because that's what the behaviors say that they can do. Okay, and the ball, won't really interact with the blocks or anything yet because we haven't finished programming for those yet either. Okay, so we're going to go and close this. And I might not have saved it on the last demo. Oh yeah, so what it is was we gave behaviors to these, and I think I just forgot to do it. So if you didn't do it yet, the brick does need the solid behavior and the fade behavior, but I'm pretty sure I talked about that in the last demo. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in because I must have lost it. So we're going to go solid and we're going to go fade really quick. And once again, you can type it in if you missed it or if you don't know where it is. Okay, fade. Okay, solid and fade. And I think we just had a couple of settings. Now, this is something I do want to show. So when you're changing settings here, like I want to change the fade in time, some of these settings here, if I just have this one brick selected, it's only going to change it for that one brick. So if I've already put a lot on here and I want all the properties to be the same, what you want to do is come over to your project window over here, and you want to find the brick here. If you highlight it here, you'll see that it highlights all of the bricks here. So now I'm changing all of their behaviors. So I'm just going to go back and check here on the brick. I want the fade out time to be 0.5. And then I want it to destroy, or sorry, that's fade out time. Sorry, 0.5. Fade out, fade in time, I think that can just stay at 0. And we should be good to go with that. And then destroy, and then we want it not enabled. Perfect. All right, so now those blocks are all set. So now let's go to the event sheet. So on the event sheet, what you want to do is on the right here in your project window, you'll see ES Game. Your event sheet will also be up here in the tab at the top. And some people freak out, like if the tab goes away, like they close it, they think they deleted it. You didn't actually delete it. It's still there. It's over here in the project window. You just double click it and you'll see you got the tab back up here. Okay. So now this event sheet is where we're going to give a list of events for the computer and be able to tell it what we want it to do. And we do this by basically setting up a series of conditions. So the condition is basically a situation that might happen. And then we add an action to that that says what will happen if that condition is met. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to make an event that changes the ball so it doesn't fly to the right. So you can either click add event here at the top, or what I like to do is you just double click in the background on the event sheet. What'll happen is it's going to want to know what object you want to make a condition for. So if it has to do with your ball, you would start with the ball. If it's something for your brick, you could start with the brick. We're going to start with a system command. So system is just kind of like generic things that if it has to do with the game time, if it has to do with the layout itself, if it has to do with anything that's just kind of general, it will be in the system tab. So I'm going to go to system, and basically we want that ball's angle to change right away at the beginning. So that's called on start of layout. Now, when you click on the object, they're going to tell you all of the conditions that are possible for that object. So that's kind of how you learn construct is you don't have to know ahead of time what you can do. You can basically click on an object and it will tell you what your options are, and then you can use that to try to build out your code. So we know that we want to do on start of layout. So rather than search, I would not get in the habit of like scrolling and looking through this. I would get in the habit of typing it in. So if I know I want to do an on start, then type on start. Now, if you don't know what the code is, then yeah, you want to scroll and look and kind of see what works. But I'm going to start with on start. So now the condition is on start of layout. That means right away when the layout loads. And then the action, so this here, this is the condition. And then the action I'm going to put here is what happens when that condition is met. So on start of layout, I want the ball's angle to change. So I'm going to double click on ball. And we're going to do something called angle of motion. But let's just say, for example, I wanted to change the ball's speed. I'm going to type in speed, And you have to be careful because there are two different options that say set speed. One of them is under the bullet category, and one of them is under the animations category. So one's going to change the ball's animation speed, and one's going to change the bullet speed. So just be aware that a command can fit under more than one situation or category, and make sure that you know what you're changing. It's a very common mistake to change the speed for the wrong thing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change the ball's angle of motion. Angle of motion is what we refer to when we're dealing with bullets, especially, but it can be anything that kind of shoots at an angle or goes at an angle. Um, Basically, there's a number that we use to represent each angle or position. And so, like, if I wanted to move up, that would be 270 degrees. If I want to move down, that would be 90 degrees. Now, I don't expect you to remember like what all the numbers are. So in the Google Classroom, there is actually an angle of motion chart that you can look at. So just go ahead and look at that, and that'll help you remember. After you've done it for a while, you'll remember what the degrees are for the different angles. So I'm going to do angle of motion, and I want it to move down. So I'm going to type in 90 for my angle of motion. Okay. So right now, if I run my game, I'm going to do a quick save here. If I run my game, the ball should move down, and we've got some of those basic things in there. Okay. But the ball didn't bounce, so that probably means from my last demo, I took bounce off solids off. So let's double check. So I'm going to click on the ball. The ball has bullet behavior, bounce off solids is on. I bet I forgot to save my paddle solid behavior. So I'm going to click on my paddle, add behavior. Yep, I forgot to have solid on here, so we're going to put solid. You should already have solid. If you followed my demo, you should be good to go. So don't worry about that. And I'm just deleting an extra thing I made. All right, run it again. All right, so now it should bounce off the paddle. Yep, and it is bouncing off the bricks. The bricks aren't doing anything yet because we haven't coded it. Right now, they're just reading a solid, so it bounces off. But we kind of have the start of our game, right? Okay, so we've got that in. So the next thing we have to do is we have to tell it what to do when the ball hits the brick. So I'm going to add a new event that's going to be for the ball, and we have something called collision. So if we say on collision with another object, double click that, then I'm going to choose that the ball is going to collide with the brick. Okay, so now it says ball on collision with brick, and then what do I want to happen? Basically, the brick, if you remember, has that fade behavior, and it's set to destroy when it fades. So all we have to do, and that fade is disabled right now, so all we're going to do is we're going to enable the fading when it hits, and then it should kind of destroy itself. So what we're going to do is we are going to do brick, and we're going to tell it to start fade. Okay, so that's going to begin the fading process. And then we also want to disable the brick solid behavior. So I'm going to go brick, and then I can type in solid, solid, and I have a section here for solid. And we want to say set enabled, and then we disable it. So any behavior, you can enable or disable the behavior at any time. Now, the reason we're disabling solids is because, remember, the ball is going to bounce off of a solid, and we don't want the ball to bounce off of it while it's fading. So once the fade starts, we want the ball to just go through. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if that worked. So hopefully the ball will hit a brick, and yep, it fades, and then it's gone. And then we can kind of start playing out the level that way. So we're getting really close to getting a finished game here. It's just a quick little game, but we're getting it. And you could add an event that says, when the brick fades out to destroy, but the brick is already programmed to it because we have this destroy checked here. So we actually don't even have to put that in as code. Okay. So I'm going to stop there with the beginning of the events. And so my next video, we're going to do some finishing up. We're going to change some more settings, kind of get some visuals going, and just get this game kind of polished off with some like game overs and things like that.